So this first detail I'm about to show you, 99% of men don't even look at. But if you've ever dealt with irritation in the crotch area, if you care about your testosterone levels, if you're just a sensitive guy, especially down there, well, you need to pay attention to these small, almost hidden details. The first detail is construction and stitching. Now, in a cheap pair of underwear, they're typically going to use a single needle stitch. Now, that doesn't mean you're just going to see one line of stitching, although sometimes you will. Here I see 3, but what a single needle stitch does is it can be rough up against the skin, especially when the manufacturer is using a synthetic thread. What you end up getting is waistband inseams that rub up against the skin and can cause severe irritation. And another easy way to be able to spot this type of stitching is to look at the waistband from an angle. Do you see the bunching of the fabric as it meets the waistband? This indicates a stitch that doesn't have much play. And that's not a good thing. It indicates cheap construction. And because this doesn't allow movement over time over multiple washes, we're going to end up having loose threads, waistbands, and seams that fall apart. Now, I talked about testosterone health. Well, in cheap underwear, instead of using mostly natural materials, you're going to see a huge use of synthetics like polyester. As you can see, 40% polyester in this pair of cheap underwear. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes the use of a synthetic material in a small amount like spandex makes perfect sense to ensure the fabric has the qualities that you want, like a little bit of stretch. But in the case I just showed you, it's not because of stretch, it's not because of breathability, it's simply a cheaper fabric and they're trying to save money. And I'm sure, as a lot of you guys know, there are tons of studies out there now showing the negative relationship of wearing synthetic clothing and how it can lower testosterone levels. So why do you want to put synthetic materials right next to the boys? Doesn't make sense, does it? Cheaper underwear as well is going to have thicker seams, which can be visible under clothing, cause irritation. And a lot of times on the finishing, you're going to see where they either left excess fabric or they didn't do a good job cutting. In my opinion, is always, if they cut corners here, where else did they cut corners in the manufacturing process? Compare that to a pair of higher end underwear. Notice immediately how the stitching here on the waistband is different. What you're going to see is more flat lock stitching, reinforced stitching that not only allows a little bit of movement, but as you can see where the fabric connects to the waistband, we don't have a whole lot of excess. In part because of that construction, but also because higher end underwear, they're going to use a natural thread, which in general is softer. In addition, look at these seams. Not only are they thinner, but the thread is actually hidden on both sides. Now, this may seem like a small detail, but for any guy that's dealt with irritation in and around the waist, crotch area, this one small difference is huge. In addition, let's look at the fiber. This pair right here is 94% micromodal air. In case you're not familiar with modal, it's a natural fabric actually made from beechwood fibers. In this case, micromodal air, which is a registered trademark, is a premium lightweight version of modal that uses a very thin, fine, but incredibly strong type of fiber that ends up being softer than silk, but as durable as cotton. In fact, I encourage you at some point to get your fingers on a fabric like this because you're going to see it is 3 times softer than cotton. It's also incredibly light, again, a natural material that's going to be close to the boys, and it's incredibly breathable. In addition, this one in particular is incredibly durable, so it's going to resist pilling, losing its color, and losing its shape. Now, another small detail I like to look for in higher end underwear is it should actually be shaped to the male anatomy. Now, with cheaper underwear, they basically design it to be flat, and they're relying on the somewhat stretch properties of cotton for it to be able to fit your body, to be able to mold to its shape. But a higher end underwear brand, what they're going to actually do is sew in a pouch area so that your crotch area is able to be comfortable and have a space in which it is breathable. Now, make no mistake, cotton, when sewn correctly, is breathable. But a specialty performance fabric that's made to be breathable, that's 1/3 the weight and thickness of cotton, yeah, that's going to be like almost wearing nothing. You're going to feel like you're almost going commando. Now, having said all that, some of you guys are wondering, Antonio, what underwear brand would you recommend? Well, I'm glad you asked, and that's why I get to introduce today's sponsor, Silk Cut. Now, I've been using Silk Cut for over a decade because previously they were called Tanning. From their trademark micromodal air material to their seamless quality construction that gives you the perfect fit, gents, I can tell you, you are not going to find a more comfortable pair of underwear out there. And again, it all comes down to the fabric. It all comes down to the construction. When you get a pair of Silk Cut and you put these on, what you're going to find is it feels like you're almost wearing nothing. And if you go over to their website, they've got a wide variety of different styles, different colors. And if you're looking to stock up, you can buy in sets. In addition, they've got undershirts. I love their V-necks. I've got a wide variety of them. And again, every time I put one of these things on, it feels incredibly smooth. I know these shirts for me are almost like a guilty pleasure. They're smoother than silk. Yet when it comes to washing and taking care of them, I just simply throw them in with my regular laundry because they're durable, they remain tough, and like all Silk Cut underwear, they maintain their color, they maintain their shape, even after dozens and dozens of washings. And again, as a guy, it's nice to be able to treat yourself to a pair of underwear that gives you the right support in the right place. And yeah, irritation in the crotch area around the waist, completely gone. And in the waist in particular, that's because of their Flex Knit waistband. It's unique to Silk Cut and specifically designed to fit you just right. If you want underwear that's going to be breathable and do a great job at temperature regulating, you need to check out Silk Cut. Use that link in the description of today's video, but use it quick because the deal I've got for you right now is not going to be around forever. So we've established the difference between cheap and quality underwear. But still, you may be asking, well, why would I still spend the money? Why do I need to upgrade? Does it really make that much of a difference? Well, my first answer to that question would be simply get a single pair and find out for yourself. I know for me, growing up without money, a trailer park kid, I always went with the cheapest option. But then I started to be exposed to quality offerings. And I'm not talking about just expensive offerings. I'm talking about items that were simply just better made, more comfortable. And it was in my 30s I started realizing, I'm dealing with a little bit of irritation down there. So for me, the upgrade to a nice pair of underwear has been a path that I took one step on and I realized, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe what I had been missing. And yeah, I've never gone back to cheap underwear. But again, when it comes to comfort, I think that this is something personally, individually, you have to experience. So I'm throwing out a challenge. How important is your comfort? And have you ever tried a quality pair? And can you feel the difference? I feel for most of you guys, the answer is going to be yes. Now, this next one is a secret that most women know, but most men have never even thought of, and that is underwear as a confidence booster. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, Antonio, you're crazy, but before you dismiss this, hear me out. So I mentioned earlier, I grew up without money. I grew up in a trailer park, and everything that I bought, everything that I owned was cheap. I never bought anything name brand. I always bought the generic, whether it was food, whether it was clothing, whether it was shampoo. And at the time when I had no money, it made sense. But even when I started making money, I found I kept these habits. I'd go in and eat at a restaurant, and I wouldn't get what I would want. I would get the cheapest item on the menu. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all about being frugal, but being overly cheap can affect your self-worth. I read a whole study on this 10 years ago, talked about when people are always buying generics, they sometimes don't feel that they are worthy of the higher end, more expensive brands. And I've talked about this in other videos. It's the main reason I don't think you should ever buy a fake Rolex or wear fake designer clothing. It's not because I think it's tacky, but also I think it's a reflection of how you view yourself. Now, when it comes to underwear, women have known for years, you buy nice underwear, you feel attractive, you feel sexy. Even if nobody sees it, you've got a dress on, you just feel good. Well, guess what, guys? It applies to you as well. When you are wearing nice underwear, when you've got a really well-fitted, just comfortable undershirt, whether you're lounging at home and comfortable or you're out and about and nobody sees it, but you know, and you can feel, and you know that you are worth it. Seriously, it's a confidence booster to know that every piece of clothing you have on, you've thought through, you're comfortable with, and you love. Next up, let's talk about waste and sustainability. I know that's a big thing for a lot of you guys, and here's the reality. When you buy something of higher quality, guess what? Because of the stitching, because of the construction, because of the materials used, whether it's a pair of shoes, whether it is a shirt, whether it's a suit, whether it is your underwear. In this case, Silk Cut, the sponsor, guys, I've had their stuff for over a decade. I have worn some of their, I'm not going to say 100 times, but it seems like it because I know dozens and dozens. I got some of my favorite underwear. It's from this brand and it still looks good. It lasts. And you can't say that about cheap underwear because I've had cheap underwear. It seems like every year I had to replace it. And so yeah, buy quality. It not only feels better, it looks better, and it lasts longer. Next up, let's talk about skin health. What's interesting about this is it changes over time. It changes in your environment. Now that I live up north in Wisconsin compared to down to Texas, I get a lot more sensitive skin. Our winters are really dry up here. Maybe as I've aged, that has something to do with it. In any case, I am more sensitive to those rougher fabrics, and I've decided to stay away from them, especially when they're close to the body and on me all day. On top of that, usually with premium products, what they do in terms of the construction and the materials used, they don't use those materials or that construction in cheaper garments because they got to save money. They want to be able to make a margin. They want to be able to make a profit. Versus with the higher quality garments, yes, you are paying more, but you're also getting something that is 2 to 3 times better in the construction and the materials used. And the fact that a lot of these smaller companies that are usually making the quality materials, they realize the consumer they're going after pays more attention to the fact that they're using hypoallergenic fabrics and things like that. Next up, let's talk about style. Let's talk about how things look. Maybe not super important to everybody here, but we are a style channel, and I do appreciate usually when they pay attention to the quality build. We also either get a timeless design, which in of itself is stylish, or we get some fun designs that are unique, that stand out. Not that you're looking to impress anyone with your underwear, but hey, maybe your significant other, your partner. Yeah, it's fun to look good, get compliments, even if it's just in the bedroom, which matters, right? And let's face it, when you're getting dressed in the morning, right out of the shower, your underwear is the first thing you put on. You put on a quality pair of underwear, a well-fitted, smooth, just great-looking undershirt that you love what you got on. You love what you're wearing before you've even gotten dressed. Guys, that is a great way to start the day. Well, gents, did I convince you to get quality underwear? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, if you want to continue your viewing experience, boom, I got you covered right here. Go check out this video if you want to dress better. If you want to improve your style, guys, I've got you covered with this video. Boom, right here. Oh yeah, check it out.